Welcome to Ladies in Law, where real-world advice meets professional wisdom and empowerment in realms of law and business. Your hosts, Lisa Goucher, Dawn Smith, and Kellye Raymond, bring you innovative strategies, practical guidance, and inspirational stories. Join us as we inspire and support women to thrive in traditionally male-dominated fields. We're here to promote inclusivity and provide practical advice for success. Hi, Lisa Goucher here with Kellye today. Our topic is navigating difficult personalities. And I know, Kellye, you encounter a lot of personalities in the courtroom, in the mock trials. What do you do? What do you do?
Well, what do you do? How long do you have? It's funny. Every time I leave a focus group, I think to myself, gosh, I really don't like people. It's really interesting that I've found myself in this profession doing focus groups with random people all the time. But Lisa and I really got to talking about this topic because we are both navigating the legal industry. We're not practicing attorneys, but we work with lawyers, great lawyers, trial lawyers all the time. And lawyers are a special breed of people, and sometimes they can be challenging personalities. But we really just got to talking about how to navigate difficult personalities. And really, the focus group personalities are way more challenging than ever having to deal with a lawyer. But, when you put yourself in a situation where you are with people that are not from your background, that have different life experiences, that don't dress like you or think like you, weren't raised like how you were raised, it can really be challenging to try to figure out what is the best way to navigate, especially with somebody who's being difficult. And so I think there are a lot of different steps that you can take. I know you've got some because you've been in the legal industry a very long time, and especially working in trials, high stress environments. But I think there's a couple of things that you can do. You can only control yourself, right? You can never control anybody else's behavior. You can only control how you let somebody's behavior impact your own behavior, and you can only control what you can control. So I would say start there. Try to control your own attitude. And if you can let something, that's what I have to tell myself in a focus group. I cannot let myself get bogged down every time a juror acts like a 5-year-old. And so I need to be thinking about, okay, this is not ruining my day. I can't let it ruin my day. I've got other things to do. So just really trying to control, is this something that I need to be upset about in the moment? Is probably the first step. What's your experience been like when stressful trials and people aren't on their, they're not their best selves, right? Maybe they're not getting a lot of sleep. They're cranky. They're overworked. How do you feel like you navigate difficult personalities?
So in my business, the court reporting firm, I'm a service provider. So I look at it in one of two ways. I have either not met the expectations of the client, and that's the reason why they're upset. They haven't gotten the transcript, or there's some issue related to that. Or it's the scenario wherein I have messed up and personally made a mistake related to a client and the information. So either way, somebody is upset and they're looking to me to make it right.
So you feel, so what I hear you saying is that you look first to, is this my fault that somebody's upset? Wow, maybe I should be a little more introspective. I don't usually think it's my problem, but I think you're in a service industry, right? You provide a service. If people aren't happy, they're not happy with you.
Exactly. And I want to own that. Like if it truly is an error on my part, with my court reporter, my videographer, or if it's just a scenario wherein maybe they thought they had told the court reporter they wanted an expedited transcript or the exhibits or whatever the case may be. Regardless, the way that I handle it is I give them options. I feel like people really want options when there's an issue. And sometimes even the options aren't all realistic. Like if the client doesn't have what they need, then number one, I'm going to try to give it to them. Number two, I am going to potentially offer a discount on something if it is like well overdue. Or number three, I am just going to make an apology for it as a whole and also just indicate that that's not how we do business. And I'm sorry that somebody dropped the ball regarding the communication, but I step up and take responsibility for it. I think in this day and age, really accepting responsibility goes a long way. So, you're dealing with personalities wherein there isn't any reason why you should take ownership of it.
But I think that's great advice. Maybe I should just start taking ownership.
It's my fault. It's my fault. Yeah.
Well, but I think sometimes women seem to have this problem, sometimes more than men, where we do sort of take on the problem as if it's our fault. I was just talking to my 19-year-old cousin just here visiting. She's in college, and she apologized for something, and I didn't need to apologize, wasn't necessary, and not something that she should have apologized for. And I just said, don't do that. You don't need to apologize if you haven't done something wrong. And I think sometimes women get into this position where we feel like we do have to apologize or we have to accept responsibility. I'm all for accepting responsibility if you make a mistake, right? You got to step up. But if you haven't made a mistake and somebody is making their problem your problem, do we really have to apologize for it?
No, we don't have to apologize for it. And then also, we're talking about litigation here. So being a service provider, sometimes you're put in the middle just because that's a strategy that they want to win their case, right? They want to make something an issue that truly is outside of your control, whether it's what the court reporter put in the transcript or didn't put in the transcript. And there is an official process that needs to happen if that is brought to light. However, to get somebody calmed down and get them moving in a positive direction, you have to address it, and then you have to share with them, all right, you have voiced this concern, and this is what we're going to do. There's a formal process that comes into play. And, we're officers of the court, and that means we are neutral parties. We do not pick sides, and we produce product that is verbatim or the exact audio and video of the actual deposition or trial or whatever the event is.
I knew that in my brain, but I don't think I ever fully appreciated, even though you are hired by one side or another, you are officers of the court. And so the person that you can't make it right for the person that has hired you if the substance is wrong for them, right?
Correct.
Fascinating. I never really thought about that. That would be very tricky to navigate, right?
It truly is tricky to navigate. And at the end of the day, I just want to make sure that I am doing ethically what I am supposed to do, because if you bend the rules, your client is going to know that you bent the rules. So why would they think that you wouldn't bend the rules going forward? Right.
Right. You've got to protect your own integrity.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to stand your ground. And so, difficult personalities, like in those scenarios, like there's a strategy involved. They're taking it. I wouldn't even say that they're taking it personal. It's just, they're just running their case the best that they possibly can. And that's their hand that they're playing, right? Mm-hmm. And as a service provider, sometimes I end up in the middle and just making sure that I take care of the situation and not showing bias and do it as legally ethical as I can, then I'm going to come out on top.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I never really appreciated that before. It's very specific to court reporting, right? You're hired by somebody, but you can't change somebody's testimony if it's not good for the person that hired you.
You can't. And then the interesting thing is that when I joined the court reporting firm, like back in 1999, I came from a defense background in asbestos litigation. What was going to be my future partner, she was doing plaintiff work. And in the court reporting industry, even though we are typically, everybody is officers of the court, they land in one of two pots. Mm-hmm. You're either a defense court reporting firm, especially in a specialized litigation, or you're a defense court reporting firm. And so
defense or plaintiff.
Yeah, defense or plaintiff. And so what actually happened was I was able to bridge that gap And we had plaintiff work and defense work. And because I wanted to make sure everybody was taken care of, like if somebody needed an expedited transcript, regardless of which side they were on, I was going to get it to them. Because at the end of the day, you want to service everyone, and you really want everybody's business.
Yes.
Oh, you're laughing because I said service everyone.
Sorry.
All right. I don't mean service everyone.
I have the sense of humor of a 13-year-old boy. Okay, so let's talk about when you just have a difficult, maybe it's a client or a difficult coworker, and you, what do you do if it's not something that you can take ownership for, if it's not actually anything you've done and it's more of just somebody's got a personality flaw where they're difficult? What do you think is kind of the first step to trying to navigate a difficult person that has to be in your orbit?
Okay, so there are, there's the situation where as a leader, I feel like you have to handle it one way because everything starts at the top, right? And whatever the attitude is and whatever's allowed in the office, in the company, really comes from the top. So in that scenario, like if it truly is a situation wherein it should not be happening and it's inappropriate and, somebody's just exceptionally crabby and not behaving appropriately in the work environment, the leadership needs to quash that, because that'll just lend itself to everyone that is acceptable behavior. Now, if you're not in a leadership position and you're just in a scenario wherein you're part of a group and there's somebody who is absolutely challenging as far as their personality is, I just say distance yourself. You do not have to put yourself in that scenario any more than you have to. Now, if you're working with them, obviously you have to get through whatever it is that you're working on, but I think you have to be the bigger person, and sometimes saying nothing says a whole lot more than commenting to something that is said.
That's great advice. I think first you may think just kill them with kindness, right? Or say nothing. My mom used to say, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. I think killing people with kindness, especially if somebody is abrasive or being rude, sometimes that can be very disarming, right? And they're not expecting that. I think most rude, abrasive people are met with that because energy feeds off of energy. But I think it's great advice too. If you cannot just say nothing or kind of keep your head down and be quiet, don't say anything if you have nothing nice to say. I think that you've ultimately got to ask yourself the question, is this a situation that I am going to continue to put myself in? If somebody is just being more than difficult, right? Maybe being toxic in a different way. As a young business owner early in my career, I just, I never said no, and I took business from everybody, and I tried to just do the best job that I could. And it's so fortunate to be in a position where, the more successful you become, the busier you become, you think, you know what, this person causes me a lot of stress. Maybe it is not worth dealing with an extremely difficult personality if they are, just for a paycheck, right? At some point you have to value your own well-being. And is it really worth dealing with whatever, we're talking really broadly here. If it's a difficult person, maybe they're just crabby or cranky. Sometimes I can get a kick out of that. But if somebody is really being nasty and disrespectful, I think you have to draw a line, and hopefully you are in a position to where you can say no, no thanks. I don't want to work with you, or, we're too busy right now, right? And distance yourself from that business. If it's impacting your ability to do your job the best way that you can, right? If somebody makes me grouchy and cranky, and can I get through my day and do a good job for the client? Of course. But if it becomes a situation where it is disrespectful or not healthy, then I'm not going to do a good job. They aren't going to get my best worked product. And so I feel like at that point, it's almost better to say, okay, this is not working for either of us, and it's better to remove yourself.
Well, and this all plays into, so if you haven't already listened to our podcast with Lexley Overton, this is
She's
all
so
about
fantastic.
Being coherent. And, she said, typically people bring whatever their emotions are in from the previous day into the current day. And so perception is the same thing as reality. So number one, if you're in a scenario where you're dealing with a difficult personality on an ongoing basis, especially in a work environment, number one, you got to have awareness. Like, what are you bringing to the table as it relates to this person? Are you feeding it? Are they really that difficult, or is that your interpretation?
Or are they responding to you? Maybe there is something that you're doing that they're feeding off of.
Yes. And so awareness, and then two, looking at it like, how is it working for you with the way that it's currently going on? And then number three, what can you do to empower yourself to move outside of what is a negative environment? I mean, honestly, when she was on, I felt it was so impactful with just a handful of things that she said that you can do, just like thinking thankful, rattling off the things. What are you grateful for?
Gratitude. Yeah. And we've talked about that, I feel like, quite a bit. I hope it's sort of a running theme in a lot of our episodes, because gratitude costs nothing and it really can change your perspective. And so if everyone around you is having a shit day and you can be grateful for something or for the work that you are doing, you almost give yourself a little gratitude shield, and you don't let other people's negativity impact that. I mean, it's easier said than done, right? But I think being grateful, it's kind of starts there, right? And we learned that from Lexi.
Well, it's trying to avoid triggers, right? It's trying to avoid the heightened situation. And when you know that maybe there's a personality that you're going to clash with, the only thing you can control is your attitude and your effort. So you have to be uber proactive and figuring out, how am I going to put this into a new place? And just like you said, it happens immediately. Your mind goes to a different place if you just go to a place of gratitude. So excuse yourself from the scenario, step off into the other room, the restroom or something, and get your mind in a better place.
Yes. And being cognizant of your own energy. Lexi talked a lot about that too. And I think it's just so important to be thinking about, I kind of have to do that when I'm going into a focus group and you've got 20, 30 mock jurors from all different backgrounds. Sometimes you're in the middle of nowhere, part of the country. And these people we want them for their opinions. That is why you do a focus group or a mock trial. You are literally paying these folks for their opinions, and they are providing the service, right? And so I really have to remind myself to keep my energy up and to try to make them excited for the day, so that when the inevitable complaints come and, oh, my turkey sandwich isn't good enough, or, the kind of the silly things that you might hear, that if you start from a place of good energy, even if somebody's being difficult, they might knock you down a couple pegs on the energy scale, but you're still in a good space. Whereas if you've started kind of low with your own energy and your own kind of positive thinking, then if you're already low and somebody else is going to be able to impact that and kind of manipulate that in a way that you shouldn't, just be so willing to give other people that power.
Yeah. And, I know some situations are really, really hard. I remember my very first really serious paralegal job. One of the top most difficult attorney that I have ever worked for in all my years as a paralegal. I am not going to say a name, but couple of things with that experience. Number one, I learned more than I did from all the others. I was 21 when I started. It set me up for success when I moved to Dallas. So this person is not located in the state of Texas. And then number two, I also learned that my day did not need to be based upon that person's mood. So I would walk into my office, and this is really making me sound old, but I think Post-it notes were just developed. And if I could walk into my office.
Young people, you're so lucky you've never known a life without Post-it notes.
And I could see when I flip on my office light, if there were Post-it notes all over my desk, like I inherently knew it was going to be a bad day.
Because you would leave Post-it notes?
Yeah, that was how my day would start out. And so that was the indicator. and I just made that realization, like my day cannot be based upon his mood. And so at that point, even at that young age, I don't think I was implementing anything Lexley had
Right.
shared, but it was a self-defense mechanism that kicked in. Like, I cannot get through this day, this job, and I need this job so bad. I need this paycheck. Like, I have to figure out how to change my attitude, just bring it up, and do my best to avoid him that day.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think sometimes that's all you can do. But I agree, not letting somebody infect your day with their bad mood, and also setting small boundaries when you can, right? One of the first mock trials that I ever participated in as a young jury consultant, and this guy, he wasn't even particularly rude, but he just insisted that I was going to be the person to be bringing him coffee all day. And, that wasn't my job, right? And I had just graduated from law school, and I was really proud, and I thought I was so smart. I'm just like, well, that's not my job. And so, I did. I one or two, brought a cup of coffee, and then I just finally thought, I didn't have to be rude. I didn't have to be nasty about it. And I just said, the coffee maker is right over there. Please help yourself. It's there all day. And it's just, controlling the things that you can control. You could go south really quickly, right? Depending on how somebody's treating you. But
most definitely,
at the end of the day, you're the one that has to go home with your own behavior, right? And so not letting other people's energy bring you down, I think. Again, it's easier said than done. But I think it's really important if you're thinking about what's my space, what can I control? Kill them with kindness. And if it's just a toxic situation, then just remove yourself. No paycheck is worth that, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
When you're navigating a difficult personality, I think that the first thing you have to do is be aware of how it's impacting you. Don't let it bring you down. Try to keep your own energy up. And when you can't, remove that person from your situation. And that's really all you can do. Try to be in a good mood.
Yeah. I think I'll just close too with just saying the energy that you bring to any scenario is so critical. So especially with the navigating the difficult personalities. I mean, it is, you say it, fake it till you make it.
Yeah. It is an
get
exercise.
That smile on
Yes.
your face. They say that it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile.
And your esthetician will not be happy with you if you are frowning.
So if you have any comments related to navigating difficult personalities, and we realize it's just not every scenario this applies, feel free to comment below or send us an email, hello@ladiesinlaw.com. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Ladies in Law. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to shake things up in law and business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and let us know what you think. Spread the word and share this podcast with your network. Follow us on socials for all the behind-the-scenes fun and sneak peeks of upcoming episodes. Until next time, keep rocking it, keep breaking the mold, and as always, keep aspiring to inspire.